Episode 46, and we're in Brookwood solving the mystery of missing tracks.
Yeah, it was in there, wasn't it?
What's on this Harry Road?
Not to worry, the tracks have moved to an adjacent Railway 200 display about the Necropolis Railway.
Oh! Ah! Hang on, should you be eating the McFlurry first? Should you be eating the food first?
It's melting.
Ah, good theory, good theory.
Wait, Woking Common.
That's right, it was... Oh my God, Aaron, open the door, open the door! It's alright, the guy's behind. I've got a bad ankle, you see.
So we take the Alton line to the home of the British Army, Aldershot.
Car park. What's that big building?
That's Army Barracks.
Is that where the other train line went?
Yes, we're going to go to it today.
I noticed there have been running a lot of 12-car 450s.
We're looking for the site of this today, the Aldershot narrow gauge suspension railway built by the Army in 1872 as an experiment. We come having studied maps and read articles. First, let's survey the land outside the railway station, built in 1870.
Over here we've got these little
Connect.
connections, but they're old style rails. The new style rails don't have those connections.
It just is totally just.
They just directly connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, brilliant.
So we set off, equipped with information provided by the narrow gauge enthusiast group on Facebook. The rail was effectively an 18-inch monorail, that's a third the width of the current standard UK gauge.
The railway was built on stilts.
The idea being that the Army could quickly build tracks on uneven ground without the need for earthworks, that's tunnels, cuttings or embankments. So a rudimentary 1872 version of this suspension monorail in Germany. We look at the local history section of Aldershot Library. We acquire these maps from the time, including one near 1872, and we find this picture of the suspension railway. And here's the field store where the experimental railway ended. Note the troop departure platform, otherwise known as the government sidings, that was used as early as 1879 for dispatching troops for the Zulu War. The line may have been slightly extended later on, but here's our best guess at the start, the end, and the actual route of the experimental railway.
Redan Hill Tunnel in Aldershot, going up the top of North Lane there. And the experimental railway was looking at whether it's better to tunnel through hills or build stilts so you don't need to. That's what they were doing.
I think the tunnel definitely wins.
I think it does. Well, that's the route they chose rather than building things on stilts.
Yes,
But this was 1875 and they wanted to experiment.
We wanted to experiment ourselves by climbing to the top of Redan Hill. Daddy's sprained ankle's getting a real test, but it was all worth it.
Wow, and look, they've built it all on old railway sleepers. Look at this. And all this wall section as well. At Redan Hill.
You get a lovely view of the Alton line from this location.
The Army was looking for a novel how to build railways without a tunnel.
Do we build tunnels like there at the Redan Hill, or do we put the train on stilts so it doesn't need tunnels?
The tunnel, definitely.
It's clear the arrival of the railways by 1870 massively changed Aldershot. There was this experimental railway between the barrack stores and the field stores, and this army-owned sidings known as the government sidings for loading troops and equipment. The government sidings spur of track remains in place today. With railways now available to carry troops and equipment, the field store area of Aldershot massively expanded. Broken sleepers and young trees. It's obvious this line hasn't been used for many years. We don't think the guard dogs have been patrolling this area for quite some time. Taking the Alton Line train from the Redan Hill Tunnel, you can still see where the government sidings met up with the Alton Line. Here's the junction next to Ordnance Barracks. Our final task, let's track this experimental railway route by Mr. Fells.
This is where the experimental railway has started.
Excellent, there it is.
So we reckon Mr. Fell's railway began between Field Stores Approach and H. Jones Crescent, H. Jones being a war hero from the Falklands War. And we find a children's play park at the location we think it started at. We have a survey for locals about whether they know about this. The results are pretty clear. 0 out of 10 residents at Waterloo Park knew about the experimental railway. We calculate the line passed between 56 and 58 Alameen Road, right here. Notice the elevation change where stilts would be very useful. And we arrive at the barrack stores end of the experimental railway, now a Burger King.
The railway ended around here, at the Burger King.
Ah, so there is.
Now, Mezzomix is not in the thing anymore.
They don't have Mezzomix.
So Mezzomix and narrow gauge suspension railways, 2 experimental failures at Aldershot.